This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, has the meeting started yet?
Hello, we'll get started. In fact, we can go ahead and get started right now. It's almost 9:05. Um, thanks everybody for joining us. Sorry, I've been having some computer problems with Michael. Has luckily gotten it covered. Michael's got the agenda up, so you can kind of see what we're talking about today. The first thing I wanted to do is announce the sub-leads for each of the workflows. So first off is Austin. So from Dell, Austin, you're on the line. No. Okay, I heard Rolf, so I know Rolf's on the line. So Austin will be doing the direct contact, and Rolf will be doing immersion. So Rolf, do you want to take a few minutes to kind of introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Rolf Brink from Asperitas. We are obviously an immersion company with one of the many unique immersion systems on the market today. One of our focuses is to develop also optimized service for immersion, and this is something that we'll be bringing into the project. We'll be looking forward to leading this work stream. I'm going to be supported by some of my team members in managing the OCP activities. For that purpose, in the call are present Els Bornstring and Michael Bricius, who are going to back me up on the workload on this.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rolf. And then we've also got Jacob Na from Facebook, who'll be leading the door heat exchangers. Jacob, are you online? All right. Doesn't look like he joined either. So let's, I guess, as we go forward, kind of the next thing we wanted to talk about was setting up the methods by which each of the work streams would continue to make progress. So rather than having one large meeting and trying to get all the different work streams working all at the same time, the four of us kind of decided the best course of action would be to set up probably some individual meetings for each work stream, and then made sense for the amount of work. for that work stream, and then we would have this larger meeting to kind of help coordinate across the different projects, make sure that everything was proceeding kind of a holistic manner on, say, a less routine basis. So every like 4, 6, or 8 weeks or something like that, we'd all kind of get together. So, Rolf, I mean, since you're here on the line, do you have a particular proposal on maybe a good time that you want to meet, or how often you think would be good to start with?
Well, I'd like to get a bit of a view of the participants in the work stream first to establish a good time frame. But to start with, once every 2 weeks to at least update some progress, set some goals, set some targets on what we're going to document, what we're going to design, what's going to be put down on paper. I think that's a good start. I know that especially on the immersion side, companies are relatively small, at least the companies that have the expertise, so workload is maybe a challenge for some of the participants. Greatly looking forward to getting some interaction from the manufacturers. Last time there was Flex in the call. Is there anyone from Flex in the call today? Nope, guess not. Turn up seems to be a bit low today. But yeah, as soon as we get a bit of a grip on the participants in the work stream, we can set up a good time frame that respects all the time zones that cover the planet. So I don't know if there's anyone in the call today that intends to join the immersion work stream.
So from Submer here, I intend to join that work stream for sure. But I'm pretty much
expected as much.
I'm pretty much in your same time zone, as you know. So
yep, so that's easy. So, but I think Flex. Does anyone know where Flex is based? I think it's a US-based company, right?
Yeah, they're based in Philly, in the US.
Yeah. All right, cool. So there's a US time zone anyway. And is there any known interest from Asia-based companies that want to be part of this work stream? Is there anything that you guys are aware of at OCP? Michael, Steve?
So I've definitely been approached by several of them that are interested, but if they're not here, then I would go ahead and set it up for the people that are here, and we can always adjust it as we need, as things change.
Okay. Would you mind forwarding some contact information from the people who have expressed interest, and we'll reach out to them directly and see if we can set up a call schedule with those relevant companies. Flex certainly showed interest in the last call. So I don't remember his name, but
DJ.
Those people would be good. Yeah. So if there is a way for you to share the contact details directly, then we can try and liaise directly with them.
Okay, I can send a few of them over.
Right, brilliant. Any other immersion companies? I mean, 3M is heavily involved. I mean, they must be interested in joining this work stream, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that would help. I mean, the companies that have a specific interest in supporting immersion within OCP, I think that if you can organize some introductions with the right people, then we can make sure to include them in call schedules and establish workload.
Okay, so we can progress by setting that kind of through the main email stream.
Yeah, good.
As we go forward, once you make a decision on when you want to meet, so I can set you up with the foundation members, and they'll go and put you on the official Rock and Power agenda, so that everybody
Cool.
everybody will be able to see that.
Yeah, I'll try and make. I think we should aim for a final schedule before the OCP event in Amsterdam, so everything is clear and we get a good view on the participants.
Okay, no problem. I just got a note from Jacob saying he's got an emergency going right now, so he's not going to be able to join us today. So that sounds like I guess that'll be the path we're going to use going forward for all three streams. See if we can get those set up as we go forward.
So Daniel, would you mind sending an email to the email address that you have on the screen right now, rolf.brink@ocproject.net? Then we'll make sure to put with your details. Then we'll make sure to liaise directly with you.
Awesome. Yep.
So Michael has already gone through and updated the wiki so that you guys will have a wiki where you can post as you go forward, and that your contact information will be there as well as part of the ACS subgroup. So people will still be able to contact you through that as well as they come online. So the next thing we had going forward was to kind of look at the cold plate work streams. Let me see if I can. Well, if there's anything else you wanted to, I guess, handle at this time related to setting up new meetings, or you're good now?
No, I think with a low turn up like this, right now I think we can liaise with Daniel, and after we get some more contacts, some more people into the work stream, we can make things a little bit more extensive. But if there's not any more people today present in the call, it doesn't make a lot of sense to get to any level of detail from my point of view, unless there's something that you would like us to address. Then
No,
I'm good.
Okay, super. All right. Okay, Michael, if you can make me the presenter, I can go ahead and show kind of the updates we've got on the. Thank you, sir. So before I get started on that, do we have individuals that are interested in the cold plate work stream online? It's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, you bet. Cam from Cool IP, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, I think you were actually the one that made most of these, most of the edits in here. All right. So can you guys see? I guess you guys can see my screen now. Looks like.
I can't.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. All right, so Last time we didn't get much time to look at this, so we can go through this real quick and look at what we've added since then for the cold plate work stream. And see if we have any additions or edits or subtractions from what we've added here. So one is your wetted materials list, which certainly makes sense. Transfer fluid specification, including operating temperature, storage temperatures, toxicity, okay. So this would be, I'm assuming we would want, this would be for a whole roster of different types of fluids, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of the direction that the open harmonization group was going.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really any discussion on non-conductive fluids, though. They were really trying to limit away from that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure of the value of adding that at this juncture. I mean, I don't think it's very widely adopted.
Using the non-conductive fluids?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we should just completely disregard it just because there isn't enough traction right now. I think it should be taken into consideration nonetheless, or at least keep that option open.
Yeah, I see no reason to not do that. Obviously, if it's not as interesting now, if we build some specs around it, then that would certainly, maybe generate some interest for it later. Maybe it's not the top priority, but maybe a secondary priority. But it seems like it would be of interest.
Okay.
Seems to be Google has adopted some of that. So quick connect specification. Physical dimensions, reliability, materials, and max flow rate by sizes. Should this be focused on a particular single interconnect size? Do we think you can get one size that would handle a very wide swath of power ratings based on adjusting the flow, or do you think we need like a family of them, like say a small, medium, or large, in order to kind of handle the power across the industry? What do you guys think?
I think you're going to need to do a whole family, right? So if you're running a quick connect into a manifold, there's a lot of flow going through that, whereas the quick connects into your server loops are going to be substantially smaller and physically need to be smaller, right?
Yeah, I would certainly think so. So maybe we can add a little bit of detail around that. So. Yep. Sorry about that. How's that? Is that enough of an edit to kind of add that? Do you think we need to be more specific, or I think that's?
No, I think that's fine.
Close enough. Okay, metrology. Well, let's go back to this. Is there anything else other than making a family? Is there anything else for a quick connect specification? In general, that needs to be added.
Is there?
So Sorry, go ahead.
Is there anything specific to in the quick disconnect specification that takes into account the type of working fluid that's being adopted? Or is this kind of like a one size fits all kind of implementation or design?
So in my opinion, right, that would kind of, ideally, right, you would want to design your seal. You know, ideally, if you could find one seal material that handled all of the particular, you know, transfer fluid that you've got specified in B, that would be ideal, right? Because then you could essentially have one part number with one seal that handled everything. Otherwise, I think you might have to have a couple of different ones. What does somebody else think?
Hi, this is Rolf. In my experience with different liquids, it can be quite difficult to determine a one spec fits all solution when it comes to different types of liquids, especially cooling liquids. Because it's mostly chemical in nature, whether something will react with something or not. I think the way to go here is to come up with a design for a generic seal and leave the material specification to the chemist, in the sense that there should, one of the things that you might be able to come up with is a table or something with commonly used liquids and materials that are or are not compatible with that, just to make sure that any solution that uses a specific liquid will have a guideline of which type of materials to use.
Okay, that sounds like we need more of a general solution, and we're not going to be able to come up with a particular single seal that might be.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert with the liquids that are used in cold plate technology. So but from what I've seen and from what I know from experience is that is one of the that might be a way out to come up with something that is generic enough.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll just add more of a general statement to the seal, and if you can generally solve it with one material, then that's great. If not, then you might have, like you're saying, maybe that's out of the table.
I've lost your screen, by the way, so I'm not sure if it's just me, but
Yeah, I was just about to say, Steve.
Okay, all right. Let me see what we got going on here. And GoToMeeting is giving me all kinds of trouble today. Yep, looks like the whole application just closed. That's cool. All right, thanks for bringing that up. I will log back in. In the meantime, you guys might want to look directly at the file. If I had been able to get in earlier, I could have put the link out there, but the link is in the agenda request. It's also in the Google Doc from the notes. So just give me a few seconds here to try and get my GoToMeeting logged back in. The next item is the metrology heat extraction performance, like a white paper.
Wait, Steve, just before we move on, is there anybody from Intel on the call that is? They had mentioned that they were already sort of working through the Quick Connect design. I'm wondering where they're at with that, and if that's something they're willing to port over into this project.
It doesn't sound like they're on the call. So we have talked to other members of that consortium, and they were, so far everybody was interested, but I haven't talked specifically with Intel on that particular topic. But that would certainly. Go ahead.
That's something the individual work group can reach out and talk to them about.
Yes, that would be helpful. Right? Anything that we can leverage rather than have to recreate would be obviously helpful. But that information has to be donated to us, right? Since that's actually part of another group's work product, one way or the other. Okay, so let's go back to metrology. Anybody see any issues with that statement? Needs to be expanded, adjusted, edited?
Steve, sorry, before we move to metrology, I think Rolf was saying that at least with the quick connect, to kind of focus on one design. I'm curious to know if one design would be able to support both pumped single phase and pumped two phase implementations. Because I think this has been brought up before, it needs to be wide enough that it accommodates both pumped single phase and pumped two phase for whoever's interested in whichever area. Just a thought.
That's a very good point, by the way, yeah. Agreed.
Okay, looks like my screen should be back for everybody now. Does everybody agree with that?
Yep.
I can see that. Okay, cool. Okay, let's go on to the metrology. I'll put the link here in the chat.
A question about the remark just now. I don't know who made it about the two-phase variant. Again, this is not my level, my area of expertise, but isn't it so that the two-phase approach would, in cold plate technology, would predominantly be a closed system anyway? Would that even require quick connects in that way? Would that not connect to a more generic cold plate environment, or are there so many variations on that as well?
I guess the point is if you should be able to service the servers that the cold plates are in, then either on the front side or the rear side of the chassis, there should be a way to disconnect the secondary loop with the loop that's within the server, right? So my question is more along that point.
But that secondary loop, is that not very similar to water that is being fed towards the chip with direct to chip?
Yes, but I was asking more along the lines of the pressure rating, right?
Right. Okay.
I'm also not an expert in this field, but from the aspect of keeping it open to accommodate both versions, I was just curious to know if a single design would be able to cover both variations.
So, sounds like you guys need a more agnostic expert on that, I guess. I know someone who I can try and link up to you guys.
Yeah, I think if we can bring someone in to help with this, that would be useful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob, for the comments, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. It's the purpose of being here, right?
Yes, it is. All right, so how about metrology now? Ready to move on to that one? So I believe this is a proposal that we had previously as well, as to kind of develop a white paper defining metrology. So that I think that would be interesting if we can. I personally don't know if I've got anything I need to add to that.
The interface between the facility water loop and the rack, is that not something that would fit better in the harmonization layer for the 3 different liquid approaches?
Yeah, definitely. Ideally, it should be. We see any reason why it can't be.
Because I think that's where the value is of putting these different liquid technologies in one big work stream. So that you can have in one facility both radar cooled racks and direct to chip and immersion systems all connected up in a similar way, maybe with some different pipe sizes, simply because some systems can deal with higher energy loads than others. But generically, I think I would suggest that we put that in a more generic approach where we collaboratively spec standards for hooking up to facility infrastructure.
So I agree with that statement as well, right? So we would basically be extracting this out of both the rack door and the direct, and putting that into kind of a harmonization spec. Does anybody see any reason why we can't do that? Oh, all right.
Is there already any type of water interface defined in anything that is related to OCP at this point in time?
No, there's nothing from an OCP standpoint.
Also not for data center design for crack units or any air handlers, anything like that? Zero?
Just the temporary specs.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There's all the ASHRAE specs, right?
Right. So do the ASHRAE are not completely aware of all the detailing in the ASHRAE specs. I know that it goes pretty far, but does it go as far as defining interfaces like BSP or anything else?
No, I don't think so.
No, neither do I.
All right, I'm sure we can find plenty of experts on that.
Does anyone know what the standards are that are used in the United States? Is there a difference between US and Europe when it comes to defining standards for pipe measurements? I mean, here in Europe, we mostly use BSP, but the British standard spec for inch diameters. But is US using similar metrics?
Yeah, this is Pat with Cool IT. I don't think that we've seen any standards per se, but you know, are we all talking about the major connections that we would have from the under rack or over rack plumbing to the facility?
The CDUs?
So, yeah, well, to the CDU or from the CDU and it's plumbing out to the water main, at which point you're talking about some very large connections that are typically flange headers of some type that are bolted together.
Yeah. So obviously the different solutions will have different sizes, but if we divide the different energy loads into certain diameter specs, then at least there could be a standard based on types of interfaces, whether you use flanges or threaded connections or you shoot not, these type of decisions or descriptions. I mean, that could be something that we could define on a broader, more generic level where you can incorporate different sizes.
I think you could for sure. Our experience is that it has been a range of different connections. On smaller connections, we've seen different threads. We see a lot of sanitary clamp flanging around the secondary system, so be that for the CDU or from the CDU to the water main. I guess so long as it was somewhat broad, typically it's the building management group that will help define what connection they want in their facility based on other existing connections typically, and they follow that track. So I like the idea of trying to define a connection that everybody could follow, but wouldn't want to interfere with the building management groups and their ability to also spec and service connections.
Yeah, but if we define a standard for all the liquid technologies that we all supply our kits with, then it's always easy to put an adapter interface on anything to accommodate any exotic infrastructure. I mean, we're dealing with similar approaches from our end. Our systems are standardized on 1-inch BSP pipes with threaded interfaces, and anything that the facility would like to see differently, we just put on an adapter. But if we all for us, it's quite simple to change the standards. I mean, and I think the interface to the water infrastructure could be relatively easily standardized for most products, and then having adapter fittings for anything else might work. Or would you disagree with that?
I don't think I disagree with that statement. I would, I guess when I look at the priority of the different topics that we'll discuss, I'm not sure from our perspective we would prioritize that very high.
No, obviously, this is more towards the harmonization, but yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, I did pull that out and put that into the harmonization standard. So I think that's the proper place for it, and we decide, when the best time to work on that is.
At a later stage, yeah.
Sounds good.
It's easy to adapt to anyway.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that, right? It'd just be a matter of picking something that's very close, and then making sure we get some adapters to handle whatever unique situation we happen to find ourselves in. Okay, what about the secondary loop operating specification? Well, PQ envelope, manifold, and cooling loops.
What does PQ envelope mean?
Pressure versus flow.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard that. Right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean the PQ envelope is what the entire system stays within during your CDU pumping, making sure that as you're disconnecting nodes that you don't overpressure anything. Just an overall holistic look at the pressure versus flow of the entire system.
So it's a pressure envelope, what does the Q stand for?
Flow. What's the flow rate of the liquid?
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Is that something that is generic or also very technology specific?
Well, I mean, whenever you have liquid that's flowing, it's going to have pressure drops through any orifice, right? So I would say that's generic.
But also, so is the purpose here to define a full a standard for it, or just a metric that everybody uses?
Well, you'd want to A, to find the metric, but B, make sure like the envelope being your maximum pressure. You set it high enough so that different technologies can compete within that realm, but not unreasonably high, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of information would be important at the facility level, right? If you're laying, multiple sets of these rack level loops, right? You would need to essentially aggregate those drops as you're sizing your needs at the facility level. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I mean, it's more in relation to the secondary loops, right? So if you were, I guess, looking to mix and match between different vendors at a rack using the same row CDU, you'd have to ensure that the flow was balanced and everything was going to behave properly that way, right?
Okay, that certainly makes sense.
Are there any reliability aspects that should be taken into consideration when it comes to the secondary loop operating specification?
Such as
Would that fall under under a separate kind of area, like an overall reliability check? Just a thought.
Are you referring to like the individual pumping or quick connect? How many disconnects it can handle, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, something that can be checked, to make sure that we don't miss a corner case. Sorry, I'm just talking in general here.
Yeah, I think the pump reliability and that kind of stuff falls under the CDUs, but I think that would be more of a differentiating factor between vendors as to what their product's able to handle. I think it would be the end client which would determine, is 5 years lifespan enough, 50,000 hours MTBF, something like that. That's just my thoughts, though.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with the pump, there's a reliability aspect associated with that. I was thinking more along the lines of, pressurizing the manifolds and then trying to understand reliability in terms of, how the quick disconnects interface with the manifold and what is the impact of, let's say, suddenly pulling out 3 servers in quick succession or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to support it if you have some stuff that you're looking at, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just curious to know if there's anything out there, like already published, already written, that could be referenced to a certain extent.
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Thanks.
Such a wonder boy.
Okay, anything else on secondary? Okay, in that case, is there anything in general that you feel is missed, at least to start with, for the cold plate stream? That seems like a pretty good set to start with. Okay, then I would say our first pass there on cold plates is complete. So So we still have a good 10 minutes left. Is there another topic you guys want to add to the agenda for today? All right, very good. So I think that was a very good review of the cold plate work stream. So I appreciate everybody that was able to attend, and I look forward to seeing hopefully many of you at the OCP Summit in Amsterdam. That'll be our next meeting, and then we'll work out the details on the individual work stream meetings through the mailing list over the next week or so, okay? Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.